Okay, so today I've got another 2D fighter for you in Chaos Code New Sign of Catastrophe. Published by the mighty Arc System Works and developed by the lesser known FK Digital. I can't say I know any of their other works, but either way I'm still hopeful. Arc are involved after all, and if I say so myself, they're just legends of the genre. Here we're getting a port of an arcade title from 2011, but does it stand up to today's standards? Well, that, my friends, is what I'm here to find out. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you love the Switch as much as we do. We're quickly approaching 2,000 subscribers, which is just insane to us. Check out the huge amount of content we have over on the channel, and let's get started. So the story goes like this: as we rapidly develop as a civilization, we've begun our expansion into outer space, and a renowned scientist by the name of Arthur Tesla has developed a new type of energy by the name of chaotix. Unfortunately, as this new energy source begins to power everything we touch, one Arthur Tesla disappears, leaving behind just a simple message. It reads Chaos Code. With the planet confused by this message, the Earth Union government offers a cash prize for anyone who can figure out the message and basically what the hell this cryptic note means. At this point then, basically cue our cast of characters, from those who want to be Earth's heroes, those who simply want a payday, and then of course those who want to just destroy the world. It's one big excuse though to have one-on-one fights, and did you really expect anything else? Now, I will say this summary, I like the concept. Sadly, there's very little effort put into actually telling it or just executing on it. You can expect still screen images with text to read, and that's pretty much it for production value. Now, when you factor in how much potential this storyline has, it's a shame they wasted it on just what is basically a few text boxes. Good concept, poor execution, and if I say so myself, a lot of missed potential. So gameplay wise, let's talk modes, and we get 6 to choose from. Arcade mode, it's the traditional staggered story where you're battling through 8 fights, culminating in an ending cutscene for each character. This versus mode to battle AI opponents or local play with friends on one single switch. Survival mode, see how many fights you can survive with just 1 bar health. Score attack mode, fight against increasingly challenging AI opponents, and of course rack up the biggest score. Training mode, it's just that, practice a character's movesets. And finally, my favourite, mission mode. Take on increasingly tough challenges where you need to use set parameters to basically win. So I think you can only use one attack type, or maybe you can only use special moves to win. I love this mode because each mission actually forces you to use a different character. You don't get any choice, so it's pushing you out of your comfort zone to meet each of the playable characters we get in this world. Now, for the majority of these modes as well, I will say expect the usual options like number of rounds, difficulty level, fight length, and yeah, so on. For a budget title, I gotta say it's got its fair share of modes to choose from. Sadly though, one major omission: there's no online play at all. If online is what you're looking for from a fighter, yeah, don't come here. It kind of sucks because the PlayStation 4 release from 2016 did include online play, but I also got to give Arc credit here. They clearly recognised this shortcoming, and they actually gave a 50% price reduction from that release. On the PlayStation 4, this is costing like $20, pounds, euros, but the Switch release, it's retailing for $9.99 in the US, £8.99 in the UK, or €9.99. I think they've priced this fairly to make this, let's say, less of a big deal. Also, I will say and put out there, I gotta question if there would have been much of an online community in the first place. The Switch ain't exactly, famous for its fighting community and fanbase, even if I really do wish it was bigger on here. Now, when it comes to the core gameplay, the fighting, each and every character brings their own unique skill set to the table. We have the fast characters like Hermes, the small and nimble like Kate and Sif, and then of course the bigs like Bravo, who can literally cause earthquakes with their damage. Any fighting fan should be able to find someone they like here from the roster of 16 characters, as I will say it's covering pretty much every genre standard. For me, I like the fast, so I was personally leaning heavily into Hikaru, Kagari, Celia and Thane. Moves wise, this one it's working on a standard 4-button input system alongside the usual jumps and dashes. And moves here, they vary from just the single input basics to those really heavy combo based specials. On top of all of this then, expect to see a meter system that's built up through attack and defense. Now once this meter is full, you can use these for EX attacks, specials, and what are then known as destruction chaos moves. Each of these, of course, it's slightly more powerful than the last, but it also comes at the cost of using more of your special meter. Now, like any good fighter, you can make it as deep or as shallow as you want with this thing, and strategy is going to be the real key to victory. When do you need to attack, when do you need to defend, when to use a special, when to use a defense breaker. It's the fighter that's going to require quite a bit of brain power. My last point then on the fight mechanics to a special mention, I found this really cool. A pre-fight setup where you can choose 2 of 4 special moves to attach to your fighter. So even if, let's say, you're 100% comfortable with one of the fighters here, you can actually try something a little different, see something new, and figure out what combination of these 4 special moves works best together for your playstyle. Outside of this then, the only other 2 things really worth mentioning, we get some basic character customization, which is basically colour based. You can change the colour of certain character parts, and you can actually unlock even more options with progression. And then there's a gallery with concept art, cutscenes, all that good stuff. To unlock these items, it's a combination of beating the game and then collecting in-game currency that you're rewarded with after each fight. Overall, Chaos Code, it gets a whole lot right in its gameplay, a good variety of styles, a varied cast of characters, and a nice selection of gameplay modes. On the gameplay front, really the only question you should be asking yourself here is, how important is online play to you? So graphically speaking, let me address the aspect ratio first, because, well, you've been watching it all video. Menus and cutscenes, they're all presented in a widescreen format, while the fights themselves switch to a 16:9 ratio. It's fitting with the arcade release, so it makes total sense. What I really like though is the use of the bars on the left and right of the screen. Instead of the just usual characters looking badass artwork kind of vibe, we actually get move lists. This was extremely useful as I dove into the game, and it freed me up from constantly pausing to try out and see how I did that next skill. I thought this was a really creative use of those barriers that are normally kind of just wasted. Now then, when it comes to the core gameplay, the fights, character designs and models, they're great looking, each with suitably epic looking movesets, and then the animation, it's as fluid as you would expect from any anime fighter if you compare it to the more modern ones. For me though, the effort in the character design is clear. The signs are just so varied, to name a few: Catherine, who switches cosplay when attacking, Celia with a gothic Lolita fashion sense, Akaru the military agent, Kate and Sif a twin boy and girl combo. When it comes to unique designs, this game has some of the strangest I've seen in a long time, and they perfectly portray the background story of each character on offer, and it gives us just a little window into their personalities. Now when it comes to the stage design, again, great work. We get around 15 to choose from, and each brings just something unique to the table, from the neon light style of Tokyo to London buses, to being poolside at a really fancy looking resort, to futuristic that looks almost like something out of Tron. In these backgrounds as well, we have some really nice visual animation as well, so when you put the characters together with these worlds, it does make something really special looking. Unfortunately, I can say with everything going on, we still get a solid, stable frame rate, and that's essential for any fighter. Problems, yeah, it's definitely showing its age for sure graphically, heavy pixelation of characters, the backgrounds as well, it's kind of going beyond a stylistic choice and more just showing that it's kind of an old game now. I wish they'd done a little bit more work to make it a bit more crisp, a bit more HD, but that's a minor complaint. Also, I will say the user interface too, the health bars, the meters, just the text style, the font on screen, it's all kind of dated in its design. The big thing though that really lets the graphics down, what makes it so obviously dated, it's the borders on the left and right side of the screen, weirdly. These are super sharp and crisp in comparison to the gameplay it's next to, so it just kind of highlights the issue. Just look at the character symbol next to the health bar in gameplay and compare that to the same image in the border on the left and right hand side. You can see it's a big difference. Overall, graphically, it's showing its age for sure, but I can't fault the animations, the designs in themselves. I really like the cast, the stages, and as well, they're all unique and fun. I think with this one, we just need to realise Ark are basically just bringing something a little bit more vintage for us to add into our collections, even though it might not be, the biggest of releases, and I'm not sure how many people have actually heard of this game before. Audio wise, I'm going to say it now, I like it a lot. Kicks, punches, specials, they all have the unique and individual sounds you would expect. Then the characters, they have the occasional, grunts and whimpers that are commonplace, as each of the heavier attacks are landed or that final blow is landed at the end of the round. Where it really shines though, it's the music. Each and every fight will have its own, track, its own theme, and while leaning heavily into like a more electro and futuristic kind of vibe, this just has the urgency you would expect when backing up punches being thrown at each other's heads. The music here is the standout of the audio work for me, but as packages go, there's very little to dislike on this audio front. If there was maybe one thing, I would have liked to have seen a little recorded dialogue for those small snippets of story that do take place. Overall, Chaos Code New Signer Catastrophe gets a lot of things right. A great cast of characters, a fun combat system that can be as shallow or as deep as you want it to be, a decent amount of options to keep you coming back, and then that fantastic soundtrack. Sadly, it's let down by a poorly implemented story, an almost kind of blurred look to the whole experience, and the lack of any online play modes. That being said though, at a price point of just $10, £9 or €10, I think it's fair to say Arc are playing fair here and pricing accordingly. If you can make the sacrifice though without online play, you're getting a great little fighter here to sink some hours into, with a nice selection of modes to visit. Today I'm awarding Chaos Code a good 7 out of 10. Arc System Works, they largely deliver again, and I gotta be honest, they rarely miss. Chaos Code, I think it's fair to say, as budget fighters go, this one resembles something a bit more modern, and this is about as good as it gets without spending honestly quite a bit more. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button below if you love the Switch as much as we do. Leave me a comment, let me know what your favourite fighters are right now. What do you think as well about no online play? And yeah, I'll see you all on the next video.